This video is for extreme beginners who are just about to start learning music production. And because of that, I'll be going into these plugins a little more deeper than in a usual compilation video. The criteria that I followed while choosing the VST plugins were: they should be free, it should be easy to understand, and also they should not compromise on their output quality. Okay, here comes the first VST plugin. This is the free version of Synthmaster Player, which is a simplified version of a really powerful plugin called Synthmaster. The difference is that the player version is limited in its editing capabilities because it is targeted towards users who prefer to use presets rather than designing their own sounds. And that is exactly why we have it in our list. It comes with 550 factory presets and each of them sound extremely good. Of course, we don't have to go through all of these presets at once. We can filter them out first by instrument type. For example, let's say we want to get a bass sound. So we click on bass and we get the filtered list showing the bass sounds. Brass. We can further filter it out by choosing the music style here. There is nothing in deep house. Yeah, there is something in disco. We can further sort it by the author, but I'm not sure if you will know them because I didn't. And thank you to these authors who made these sounds ready to be used. Down here we have some controls that let us change some of the parameters related to the sound, which does not change the sound too much. And the parameters connected to these controls vary from preset to preset. Apart from these, there are these effects that we can apply to the layers of the sound. Apparently, the sounds can be made with 2 layers in this synthesizer. This one is only influenced by 1 layer. Let's see. This one has 2 layers. And there are effects applied on those individual layers which we can turn on and off. Not control them, but turn on and off. That's all. And then we can choose how much of these layers should be directed to these 2 buses, on which we can have even more effects. Oh, and finally, if you know the name of the preset that you're looking for, then you can just search it in here. Alright, let's move on to the next one. This is Labs from Spitfire Audio. Now, Spitfire Audio is very well known for their extremely realistic sounding sample libraries, which are actually used in scoring movies and trailers and so on. Labs is their free offering. Assuming that you are a beginner, there's a chance that you might find the installation of this Labs a little bit intimidating. So here's a tip. When you visit the page to download Labs, first you go to this link and refer the first video in that page, which is going to take you through the complete installation process of Labs. Then you can come back and download the libraries that you want. Right now I have downloaded all the libraries in this page and the combined size is about 13 GB. Coming back to the plugin, we have a really minimalistic UI, which is actually a good thing. This slider is the expression of the sound and this one controls the dynamics. These 2 will always be available for all the libraries that we have in Labs. The additional parameter related to each library can be revealed by pressing on this button. As you can see, this soft piano library has only reverb as one of its additional parameters that we can control. Let's crank up the reverb. Now let me show you how we can use these sliders. For that, I'm going to drop this down and sort this to strings. Now only the string type of instruments are shown in here, and I'm going to open this long Let's click here and increase the reverb. Maybe release 2. Now let's go through some of the patches. Yep, Spitfire Audio Labs has a patch even for the drums. But what if we want to use drum samples that we downloaded from other sources? And what if we want to program that in a single piano roll or MIDI editor like we can do in Ableton using a drum rack? Well, for that, I'll suggest using a plugin called Sitala. It has 16 pads into which we can load our own samples. Now this is the preloaded kit that will pop up when we open Sitala for the first time. Let's make it a new kit. Now it's completely blank. Now we can drag and drop the samples into these pads either from your file browser in your system or the browser available in the DAW. We have added 3 samples. Let's see what are the controls that we get for each of these pads. We have shape, tuning, volume, compression, then tone, which is basically an EQ, then pan left or right. We can customize the start and end points of a sample like this. There's one more thing that I would need to show you. Let's go to some loops. Here it is. If I click on the pad now, this entire sample is going to be played. We don't want that. As you can see, Sitala has separated the sample based on the transients present in that sample. So if we press one of those division, the pad will trigger only that range. We can also select a range like this. Now this is pretty useful when we need a specific sound from a loop. And the most important reason that I would suggest this is because we can split the output of each of these pads into their respective audio channels, which will come in handy during the mixing process. We can do that by going to this option and going into audio output and selecting 16 channel output, which means this plugin is now having 16 channels for its audio output for the respective pads. Now the way to set up this in a DAW will depend on that particular DAW. If you're using Cakewalk by BandLab, I already have a video on how to do that, which will be linked in the description or it will pop up on the top right corner. Oh, and by the way, I make music production and related videos using freeware. If you're interested in content like that, do consider subscribing. Moving on, we saw how we can add different drum samples into the same sampler to program it inside the same track piano roll. But what if we want to play the samples like in a piano roll? For example, an 808 bass. For that, we need a sampler like the Grace sampler. All we have to do is just drag and drop the sample just like before. We have all the controls that we need in a typical sampler like amp envelope, mode envelope, 2 filters and 2 LFOs. Now, one thing that I don't want you to miss is the tuning. As you can see from the name of the sample, it's a D note, which means when we press the C note on our keyboard or the piano roll or the MIDI editor, what we're actually hearing is a D note. To make it accurate, we have to transpose this sample 2 semitones down. We can do that here. Now when we press the C note on a keyboard or piano roll, what we hear will be a C note. That's it for this video. Leave a like if you found it useful, and if you know other VST plugins that are suitable for beginners, leave them in the comments. This is ADK, hoping to see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, peace out.